not including my mom. What's some of the worst sex you've ever had? We were both virgins. The sex itself wasn't great. But the worst part was the foreplay. I had my hand down her panties and was rubbing her clit. I guess she assumed since that felt good for her, it would feel good for me for her to rub my hole with her thumb. It did not. Super hot guy was a casual friend. We tried to hook up one night when we were both drunk. Turns out we are both on the submissive side of things. But that's not a deal breaker. So we kept trying. Then he went to flip us over all forcefully. And smacked me face first into the bookshelf above the bed. We still kept trying. Then he pulled out and came on the wall. Was my friend's room. So I feel bad about that part. All these NL stories brought back a funny story. I'm living in Biloxi, Mississippi in the Air Force in the early 2000s. My girlfriend at the time. Super cute. Athletic. Redhead Irish girl with a great ass from years of playing soccer. This girl loved NL. First person I ever met that would ask for it. And be totally sober. We're lying on my bed doggy style. She reaches between her legs. Pulls my dick out of her PSSY. And slams into me. Balls deep into her ass. All is going well. After a couple minutes I can't take it anymore and blow everything into her butt. She turns around and says she has to fart and doesn't know what to do. I can see the look on her face. She's panicking and all I can think of is that I just washed my comforter. I cup my hands behind her butt as she lets out the gnarliest, wettest fart I've ever heard. And blows and cum all over my hands, legs, and worst of all, my clean comforter. I love that comforter. When I lost my virginity, I was so nervous my dick went soft like 30 seconds in. And I tried to hide it by going down on her. I unfortunately was not aware of how oral sex worked yet either. So I just stuck my tongue in the hole and she was like, "That's not how you do it." Good times. With a username like that. I'm surprised she said anything at all. I was with a woman who hadn't had sex in 3 years and only used a curved DLDO and she tried to like that. My dick is not a boomerang. Slept with a guy and while we were eyeing I angled my head up to try and kiss him. He came to an absolute dead stop and asked, "What are you doing?" In the most horrified voice. Mood effectively flatlined. "I'll kiss you?" He looked at me in the most condescending way I could ever hope to be seen and said, "That's for before sex." Okay. Then he complained that I had killed his boner. So I got up and got dressed and left. Runner up. The guy who licked my face and asked, "Isn't this SI? Isn't this so hot? Isn't this just so amazing?" The entire time. SI things are way less SI the more you ask someone if they're SI. Also runner up. The guy who thought that if he lay on top of me while in me and shook himself really fast, he'd be a human vibrator. Spoiler. He was not. Went to her place, she put SpongeBob on in the background. And wanted me to do her on the couch. I couldn't stay hard because of SpongeBob's laugh, and when I asked to turn it off she said, "It stay on or you leave." I left. Edit. No, I was not feeling her MR. Booze. Taco Bell. Pubes like razor wire. Daddy issues. Backseat of a Ford Tempo in the middle of a cornfield at 2 AM. My all-time low. Damn dude, that was borderline poetry. Ex-girlfriend, not ex at the time, was over. We started going at it. As young, horny teenagers do. Anyways, she was sitting on my face. And right as she came, she says to me, "I'm really not enjoying having sex with you anymore." Asterisk. Ouch. To both my self-confidence and my chance of getting off that night. He was like flopping around on me. I was like, "WTF is happening?" And then he kept repeating, "I'm really good when I'm on top, aren't I?" Not going to lie, I just laid there thinking, hurry up and get done. I'm usually a mover, but I just didn't know what to do. I wonder if someone down the line set him straight or if he's still doing the fish out of water on top of some poor girl. threesome with 2 women. I was 20. 6 feet and about 145 pounds. I'm a guy. BTW. Yeah. I know. They were mid-20s. Similar height. And easily double my weight. I was barely 20% of the weight on that bed. I was so drunk I couldn't get it up. So I tried fingerlisting them both at the same time. Pretty sure I cut one with a fingernail. Gave up and passed out on the floor. TL. Doctor nominee for world's most disappointing threesome. Next time you should just mention that you had a threesome. Just stop there and everything will be fine. Edit. Most upvoted answer ever. Thank you. He had a huge dick. He did not move at all or even make noise. If I wanted to myself with a 9-inch DLDO I could have stayed at home. He got off. I did not. My good friend. Who I have been in love with for half of my life or so. The stars finally aligned. We were both single. Both feeling it. And after a late night out. It was clear it was on. We head to his room. And he turns into a Thai PRN star. Oh, you like that, you? Don't you? Take it, you. Yeah. Yeah, you, and smashing like he was trying to bounce me off the bed. I was horrified. Like. Dude. I know you. Your mother and I send you selfies when I visit her shop. I've been to your grandma's. That is how people talk in PRN. Not in real life. My crush was over before he was. This one actually made me sad. Oh, I got one. During my first one night stand. I made a throwaway joke about handcuffs. This, naturally, led to her breaking into convulsing sobs and going into a gut-wrenching 20-minute tale about how her stepfather would tie her up and molest her. Ended up reading her favorite children's books until she peacefully fell asleep. I had a Red Bull earlier, was young, dumb and nervous and didn't want to get too tired, so I then just played Angry Birds next to her until 4 a.m. And that's the story of my first one night stand. That was really sweet of you to read to her. I was drunk and tried to thumb in a softie. Dude had literally no rhythm. He was hot. Just one of my types. Tall. Handsome. Olive skin. That nice big schnoz Italian type. He'd like. Vibrate. IDK. It was so bad. Even when I tried to take control and get on top, he'd try to regain control and still do this weird erratic jerking around movement that was so off-putting. Preacher's daughter kept telling me hurt me pagan boy. Over and over again while she laid there and refused to do anything. In college. I briefly dated a Japanese exchange student. She was really cute and affectionate. She always had these giant emotes of excitement about regular things. Hanging on my arm as I'd show her stuff around town. She'd draw hearts on my arms when she got bored of studying. Often she packed me snacks or neat bento lunch. She was really sweet. In the sack she just laid there and squeaked. In doggy style. She'd just plop FDAU and squeaked into the mattress. I'd assume this is what it was like to a rubber ducky. Paging you with ducks, when I asked her what she liked and she'd blush and not even look at me. I'm already conducting a full exploratory mission into her and she wouldn't communicate what she did or did not like. It was awful. It's the same in every Japanese PRN I have ever seen. The girl takes it in any position and just kinda sounds like a little girl whining. I just assume that's what Japanese men like. It's not my thing. I was going down on this uncut guy. His foreskin hadn't really retracted. So I sort of used my mouth to push it down and get to work. But once it was pushed back, I felt something bumpy on my tongue. And his dick tasted awful. So I pulled off. And his dickhead was covered in white crud. And now I know what dick cheese tastes like. Because apparently a 27-year-old man doesn't know how to whiz himself. Edit. Oh my goodness. I know it's called smegma, guys. I said dick cheese because it's more evocative. I assure you. I know both the cause of and the name of what happened. What the? That's disgusting. And it's not difficult to keep an uncircumcised dick clean. That's so nasty. Definitely losing my virginity with breakup SX. Kids, don't lose your virginity with breakup SX. A girl who was a friend of a friend's girlfriend. She was hands down the most attractive SZUL partner I've had. The SX was the worst. She did very loud, very fake, very exaggerated moaning that didn't even sync up with my thrusting. She was also super self-conscious, so while she would take off her skirt and panties, she would never take off her shirt. She would just pull it down so her boobs came out but always kept her tummy covered. I eventually got her fully nude once and couldn't figure out why she was so uncomfortable with it. She also said she loved giving head and turned out to be really bad at it. Teeth. Also, she thought her being on top meant just sitting on top of me with my dick in her and then me doing all the work. 2/10. That being said, options were limited at the time. PRN chick moaning. It's the worst even in a PRN. Couldn't imagine hearing it while trying to actually have SX. Offack. Fuck yay. Ooh offack. OMG oh fuck. Went in. Came. Pulled out and fell asleep. That was after he said I love you. We met that night. We'll probably get buried. But he passed out while eating me out. Like with his entire face heavy and unmoving between my legs for about a minute before I realized it wasn't a technique. And that he was actually asleep. I shook his head to wake him up. He gave me a scrunched up and sour "why'd you wake me up?" face and then denied falling asleep in my crotch. I once had a guy who screamed "we did it Reddit" when he came. I didn't know what Reddit was at the time. This man is a legend. About 15 years or so ago, this chick from the internet flew up to meet up with me from Maryland. I can't imagine that she could even drink from a straw because her blowjob technique lacked any sort of visible resemblance to a living person. I literally went soft. I know you mean your dick, but I imagined you going full Alex Mack in front of her. Edit. Row. Gold. Thank you kind stranger. Edit 2. I've been using Reddit for 6 years. Made this new account a month ago and I think it's hilarious that the first time I've ever gotten gold from someone was from an Alex Mack reference about a bad blowjob. Pressed his tongue against my clit and then shook his head like a dog. I don't know what he was going for, but it was a bizarre experience and I kinda just sucked it up and pretended that was okay until he was done. There was a girl I'd see occasionally when we were both single. Hot, blonde, runner physique. She was amazing. We'd have a fling, go our separate ways, date a person, sleep around, and always find each other again, and show off our newly discovered SZUL interests. One such startling discovery, for her, was doggy style. Something she had always opposed. We're in the middle of getting down to it when she up off me, pulls down her tiny purple booty shorts, and faces away from me on all fours. It's immaculate. Every part of her. I'm eager. Too eager. So I decided to take my time. Get up behind her. Breath in her ear. Kiss my way down each and every vertebrae. Down to that perfectly chiseled ass. And as I kiss my way down further, she farts directly in my eye. She cries. I try and tell her it's okay. She scurries away faster. Still on all fours. Still farting. And leaves. Never saw her again. Got a horrible case of pinky. Missed 2 days of work. And still haven't heard from her. So that was kind of bad. Went out to the bar and ran into a group of friends. One guy they were hanging out with I thought was sort of cute but didn't think much else. Took too many tequila shots. The next thing I know I'm in my bed and naked with this guy next to me. I think he was trying to sound seductive and I then says, "Would you like another drink?" as a way of asking if I want to go for round 2. I decline by claiming I'm sore and am trying to hint that I want him out of my house so I can get ready for work. I get up to get dressed. And my gay roommate walks into my bedroom still laid up from the night before. He crawls into my bed and starts spooning the guy while he is still naked. He left rather quickly after that. Haven't seen or spoken to him since. Being prescribed SX by the reproductive endocrinologist after an you.I procedure. I was sore and uncomfortable from fertility drugs and my husband was feeling pressured into it. No one has fun when it's required and you're failing to get pregnant each time. During my first one night stand I went home with a girl who was passing through town. She was cute but trashy. She started full on making out with me at this bar like no one else was there. I was 21 at the time and thought it was awesome. I now realize it was not. We ended up going back to her hotel and hooking up everywhere in the room. Should have been hot. But she made no noise. It was like eyeing a doll. Then when we were on the bed bit me so hard it broke the skin and scratched my back really bad. I stupidly stayed there that night and all night all I could think was maybe I just sucked that much in the sack that she had to bite and scratch me. She then extended her stay in town and creeped on me for 3 days. Worst idea ever. To each their own. But a hot trashy one night stand in a hotel room who bites and scratches you sounds like a great night. Well, I hooked up with a French girl in a hostel bathroom in Hungary. Decided to go down on her. Usually doesn't gross me out at all and I actually enjoy doing it most of the time. After about 5 minutes I wiped my mouth and came up for air. He says, "I want you to me. But be slow because you're the first guy I've been with since my abortion." I mean, I still did it but the mood was killed a little after that. Mood wasn't the only thing killed. Man. I feel bad for trying to make that joke. Edit. My first gold. Thank you kind stranger. Went to finger the girl and found a condom inside her vagina. I had been with her all day. No idea where it came from. He had the hugest cock I had ever seen. I was so in love with him. But it was like the opposite of giving birth. I wanted to sleep with him but it wouldn't fit. It was so upsetting. I was well into adulthood. Sorely experienced. I once masturbated using shampoo. That's about as close as I can go here. Colon. Left square bracket. Edit. I lied. This happened more than once. Edit 2. I learned to masturbate while playing Age of Empires II. Did you give yourself head and shoulders? I started seeing this girl. She wouldn't give head as she found it gross and never pictured herself doing it. Alright, that's cool. I won't make you do something you aren't into. Vanilla SX. Just vanilla. I don't have any kinks so whatever you want is what I'll do but vanilla SX gets boring a little. Like she wouldn't try new positions. I go down on her. That's my favorite thing to do. I go down on her for a total of 3 seconds. I have never made a gagging noise before during SX. I played it off so she didn't think it was her fault and we just smooshed instead. Never went down on her again. Was having marathon SX with an ex. About 45 minutes in. She dismounts without a word. Walks out of the room. Goes into the bathroom right next to her room. And takes a dump. Thin walls. Hard to come back from that. She was letting you know that an L is now on the menu. The one time my ex lasted longer than 10 minutes. He was so proud of himself that he lasted for 30 minutes and calling himself a SX god that I didn't get a chance to even tell him that I didn't come once. I was dating a beautiful Dutch girl. I'm a small Mexican so she was way out of my league. She told me one night after a couple weeks that she wanted to lose her virginity with me. She was 27 back then so I was a little shocked since in Mexico we start getting it on at a much early age. I told her that she should wait for someone who loved her and made that occasion very special for her. But she insisted. And since she was way out of my league, I decided I would take on this important duty of making this a special and caring moment. So I was really sweet. Everything was slow and kind. But she didn't move a muscle. I tried to encourage her to try anything she'd like. But nothing. She was so beautiful but completely still. I didn't go off. Pulled out and proceeded to cuddle. She told me it was special for her since I was very careful and sweet. For me. A total bummer. Made love to her 10. She was happy but for me. It sucked. But hey, a 10 is a 10. Well, I had an ex who basically didn't move, didn't make any noise, and didn't make any facial expressions during sex. It was extremely off-putting. Edit for clarity. I didn't make it clear, but I'm a guy. So every time we had sex, I'd be on top, cause she wouldn't move at all, and she would just stare into space, expressionless, as I thrust into her time and time again. She claimed she loved it. IDK. That relationship didn't last long. 9 out of 10 Tinder dicks. Tried being tied up and gagged for my girlfriend. She gives me a safe word. Triceratops. We started off with some whipping and then some hitting, and then I just had to say the safe word. The problem is that I am Russian. And even though I speak perfect English, my dinosaur's stage was in Russia and Triceratops wasn't a word I knew. So she thinks that I am saying it wrong on purpose as part of the roleplay, so that she would hit me harder, and is beating the out of me. I should probably add that she was a pro kickboxer, so fun wasn't had. But I told my co-workers about it, and whenever Triceratops is brought up in any context, one of them bursts out laughing. I have issues where basically my vagina doesn't work like a normal vagina. So penis in vagina sex can be uncomfortable at best and horribly painful at worst. In general, I have vaginal pain that's around almost all of the time, but I can ignore it most of the time. Sometimes the dick won't even go in. First guy I had sex with didn't understand though and was a huge about it. Didn't put any effort to help get me off, which lots of lube is necessary for me or sex painful as hell. Just kind of poked my clit and thought he could immediately stick it in. He'd also make fun of me and demean me for not being able to like a PRN star. I was a bouncer at a bar for nearly a decade. This bar had an outdoor patio. We had put peepholes in the wooden perimeter fence so we could spy for things like drug deals and underage drinking. There was a regular at the bar that we called Flo B. We called him this because he looked like a you.I. So anyways, one night, middle of week, pretty slow, pretty good looking couple comes in. They are talking to Flo B. The guy in the couple seemingly leaves. Flo B comes to one of the bouncers and says, "Hey, this girl wants to blow me. No one is on the patio. Will you let us out there and lock the door behind us?" We all agree. Let him out and lock the door. Now we all run outside and each take a different peephole. Chick starts going down on Flo B and keeps telling him to keep his eyes shut and to make sure to let her know when he is going to come. He follows her directions, and when that time comes, her husband comes out of the shadows and takes the whole load in his mouth. When I was in college, I hooked up with this foreign exchange Chinese girl. I had a hell of a time understanding her. So we're doing the deed and it was alright. She was small and tight, so not bad. Toward the end I thought she said come on my face. I say to myself, she wants me to come on her face. I can do that. I rip the condom off and go on her face. She wasn't impressed. I still have no idea what she said. Zombie SX where she just laid there and took it. To be fair, I was wasted, so I probably make her list on here. Rebound SX after a horrible breakup. She wanted to be FWB. I kept making excuses to not have sex with her. The comments section is more or less what I expected it to be. Reading these horror stories makes me feel self-conscious about how little read 0 Zul experience I have and how I might end up in one of these stories one day. This comes from an ex of mine. She was heavier than the average, not gonna lie, she was just fat. Like pushing to 150 at like 5 feet 4, and just lay there. Out of the 2 times we did anything, she just lay there. Being fat is no excuse for being lazy in bed. That's a huge bitch. A woman I was into went on a few dates. After one of them we headed back to her place to get it on. She took off her pants and the smell smacked me like a tuna to the face. I tried to play through it. It was so bad at 2 minutes in I faked a sprained ankle when switching positions by stepping on a throw pillow. I even purposely fell naked into a pile of Legos to sell it. I sold it so well that Shawn Michaels would have been proud. She bandaged my ankle up and assisted me out to my car. Found out later she got rid of all her throw pillows from her room. We have some friends in common. And every time we run into each other she turns red and apologizes profusely. The most attractive women I've had sex with was the worst sex I've had. Go figure.